Today on Stamps Old World UK, we dive deep into the history, symbolism, and present-day collector value of one of the most fascinating classic United States postage stamps, a 3-cent issue featuring a powerful scene of American workers standing together in unity. When you look at this stamp, the first thing that captures your attention is its strong and determined imagery. You see a farmer holding a scythe, a worker with a hammer, a suited man symbolizing planning and leadership, and a woman standing proudly alongside them. Together, they represent the idea of shared responsibility and national cooperation. The rays of light shining from the upper right corner add a dramatic sense of hope and forward momentum. Even though the stamp has a simple purple color palette, the design tells a complete story all by itself, a story of strength, unity, and collective purpose. This 3-cent stamp was originally created during a time when America was going through significant economic challenges, and the design reflects the sense of national determination that citizens were encouraged to embrace. The letters NRA printed on the left side referred to one of the major government programs of that era. To collectors today, this detail adds depth because it ties the stamp to an important chapter of history. The phrase printed at the bottom, "in a common determination," communicates the message that everyone, regardless of role or background, was expected to contribute to rebuilding the nation. Historical themes like this are one of the reasons collectors admire stamps from this period so much. They capture a real moment in time and freeze it on a small piece of paper that travels across generations. When we talk about older stamps like this 3-cent issue, the question most collectors ask first is, what is its value today in the current market? Market value depends heavily on the condition of the stamp. If a stamp has sharp corners, clean perforations, bright color, and no tears or heavy hinge marks, it usually holds higher value. Stamps that have been preserved in albums or glassine envelopes often stay in far better shape than stamps that were stored loosely or handled frequently. For the specific stamp in the image, stamped in rich purple ink with strong printing and iconic historical symbolism, the general collector market usually places its value somewhere in the lower to moderate range. In typical hobby collector markets, the stamp in circulated but well-kept condition can be valued around $2 to $5. In very fine or exceptionally well-preserved condition, the same stamp might be valued slightly higher, sometimes reaching up to $8 to $12 when sold to the right buyer who appreciates historical thematic issues. If the stamp has extremely pristine centering, original gum, and no defects, some dedicated collectors may value it in the $15 range, though those cases are less common. Value also changes based on trends among collectors. Some collectors are deeply interested in historical programs. Others focus on thematic topics like labor, agriculture, or Americana. When interest in these themes rises, demand can temporarily increase, causing prices to go slightly higher. In general, though, this 3-cent stamp is widely collected, widely recognized, and still relatively accessible in the marketplace. The good news is that because it is so iconic and visually striking, it remains a favorite among beginners and experienced collectors alike. Its value is not measured only in dollars, but also in the story it tells and the feeling of connection it provides to a key chapter of American history. Another factor that influences the value of older stamps is rarity. While this particular 3-cent issue is not considered extremely rare, collectible versions in mint condition with full original gum or extremely fine centering do hold stronger appeal. The market for classic stamps is often unpredictable because it is shaped more by collector enthusiasm than by financial speculation. That is one of the reasons the world of philately remains so personal and passionate. Each collector values aspects of a stamp differently. Some focus on condition, some on artistic design, and others on historical meaning. With this stamp, you get a combination of all three. It is visually bold, richly symbolic, and deeply connected to a significant national moment. For collectors who run channels, online stores, or social pages, stamps like this are great conversation starters because they encourage viewers to explore the story behind the artwork. It also helps new collectors learn that stamp value is not just a number, but a blend of history, condition, design, and scarcity. As the host of Stamps Old World UK, bringing these stories forward helps educate new audiences and keeps the excitement of philately alive. When collectors see a stamp like this, they often begin exploring other stamps from the same era, connecting the pieces together like chapters of a book. This helps build a deeper understanding of both the postal system and the culture of the time. This 3-cent stamp is also a good example of how postage art can communicate national messages. The workers standing together showed that the nation valued unity, resilience, and shared effort. The rays of light coming down from the sky symbolize hope and guidance during difficult years. Even the fonts chosen for the lettering show a sense of pride and seriousness. For stamp lovers, these details matter because they allow us to appreciate the craftsmanship behind each issue. In a world where modern stamps are often designed digitally and printed in huge numbers, classic stamps like this remind us of the artistry and intention that once shaped even the smallest pieces of mail.
Next up, the most iconic, classic United States stamps ever produced. A 3-cent issue from the late 19th century that features the majestic flagship of Christopher Columbus. When you first look at this beautiful green design, it immediately transports you into a world of early exploration, open ocean voyages, and the historical narrative of discovery. The central artwork shows a detailed ship sailing against rolling waves with tall masts, wide sails, and a sense of purposeful movement. This classic engraving style remains one of the hallmarks of early American postage stamps, demonstrating the craftsmanship and precision that artists of that era put into every line. Even at small size, the ship stands out as a proud symbol of ambition and courage, reminding collectors of the great maritime journeys that shaped world history. This stamp belongs to a time when the United States celebrated historical anniversaries through elaborate and artistic stamp issues. At the top, the words United States of America curve gracefully along the frame. And just beneath them, you see the denomination clearly printed as postage 3 cents. At the bottom of the stamp, you find the description that makes it instantly recognizable to collectors: the flagship of Columbus. Stamps from this series were printed in rich, bold colors, and the beautiful green tone of this particular issue makes it especially striking. The design style reflects the older engraver techniques that emphasize depth, shading, and fine artistic detail. These stamps were not simple postal labels. They were miniature works of art meant to honor historical events and important milestones. For collectors today, the story behind the stamp significantly adds to its value. It represents a period of national celebration, a moment in time when Americans honored the voyages that connected continents and changed the course of world history. Whether one agrees with all aspects of that historical narrative or not, there's no denying the symbolic weight these early stamps carry. They remind us of the era when postage stamps were the main carriers of national pride, education, and artistic expression. Stamps like this 3-cent Columbus flagship remain highly sought after by collectors around the world because they combine history, classic engraving, and strong visual appeal. When it comes to market value, condition becomes extremely important for this particular issue. Stamps from the 19th century often show signs of age, such as heavy cancellations, rough perforations, fading ink, or hinge marks. The example shown in your image appears to have a cancellation mark on the left, which is normal for stamps of this time. Collectors typically evaluate these stamps by looking at centering, color strength, perforation quality, clarity of design, and overall preservation. Because this stamp is quite old, finding one in perfect or near-perfect condition can be difficult. Most examples available today fall somewhere in the mid-grade range, which still makes them attractive but not extremely rare. In today's general collector market, a 19th century 3-cent Columbus flagship stamp in average used condition usually carries a value in the moderate range. Many everyday collector stamps of this type sell around $3 to $7, depending on eye appeal and cancellation style. When a stamp has stronger color, better centering, or lighter cancellation, its value may rise to $10 or even $15. Very fine examples with excellent centering or full original gum in unused condition can reach significantly higher values, sometimes moving into the $25 to $40 range among dedicated collectors. Exceptional mint or beautifully centered specimens can command even more, although those are far less commonly seen in typical collections. However, the true beauty of this stamp is not only in its price, but in the story it tells about early American philately. Many collectors consider this one of the foundational classic issues, a stamp that every serious collector has admired at least once. Its maritime imagery appeals to those fascinated by oceanic exploration. Its historical background draws interest from those who enjoy stamps with deep educational context. And its artistic engraving attracts collectors who appreciate fine craftsmanship. All of these aspects combine to make the 3-cent Columbus flagship a timeless favorite. Collectors also love the stamp because it represents the era when postage stamps were still a relatively new concept in the United States. Stamps like this help shape public curiosity about history, geography, and national identity. Through their engraved artwork, they transported people into important chapters of the past, long before television or the internet existed. The level of skill used by the engravers is still admired today, and the ship design is considered one of the most elegant maritime illustrations in American stamp history. This gives the stamp lasting appeal, regardless of its specific dollar value. For anyone running a channel like Stamps Old World UK, showcasing such classic issues helps viewers develop a deeper appreciation for philately. It teaches new collectors that a stamp's worth is not measured only by the price someone might pay today, but by the cultural, artistic, and historical significance it holds. Even a stamp valued at a few dollars can be priceless in terms of storytelling, power, and educational impact. When people see a stamp like this, they are often inspired to explore other issues from the same era, creating a pathway into the world of classic American stamps. The Columbus flagship issue is also a collector's gateway into the broader Columbian stamp series, which remains one of the most beloved and talked about sets in U.S. stamp collecting. While some stamps in the full series are extremely valuable, the 3-cent issue is one of the most accessible for beginners and still provides that sense of connection to the larger historical theme. It's affordable, visually beautiful, and rich with artistic engraving, making it a perfect addition for collectors who want to build a meaningful historical section within their albums. In closing, the 3-cent Columbus flagship stamp is a treasured piece of postal history. Its beauty, symbolism, and craftsmanship continue to captivate stamp enthusiasts all around the world. In today's market, its value in used condition typically ranges from a few dollars for common examples to over $10 or more for better quality pieces, with rare high-grade or unused versions reaching higher levels. But beyond price, this stamp stands as an enduring reminder of the artistry and history embedded in classic philately.
Next up, a remarkable historical issue from the United States, the 3-cent U.S. Coast Guard commemorative stamp honoring the years 1790 to 1945. This striking green stamp captures one of the most powerful themes in philately: service, courage, and national protection. At first glance, the artwork immediately draws you in with its dramatic depiction of Coast Guard landing craft moving through turbulent waves toward the shore. You can see a sense of urgency in the water, the spray splashing forward, and the silhouettes of dedicated service members bracing themselves for action. Behind them, larger ships sit on the horizon, symbolizing the larger mission, teamwork, and coordination that define the Coast Guard's role. Every detail in this stamp reflects determination, bravery, and the long-standing commitment of the U.S. Coast Guard across more than a century and a half of history. This stamp was issued during a time when the world was emerging from the shadows of global conflict, and the United States wished to honor the forces that served not only in wartime but also in rescue operations, patrol duties, and national protection. The dates 1790 and 1945 at the bottom of the stamp serve as a tribute to how long the Coast Guard had already been operating, over 150 years of service. The words U.S. Coast Guard stand boldly beneath the image, ensuring that the purpose of the stamp is unmistakable. This is not a simple decorative piece of postal paper, it is a salute to the men and women who safeguarded coastlines, saved lives, fought alongside other branches of the military, and maintained vigilance over the seas. Collectors appreciate this stamp not only for its historical importance, but also for its beautiful engraving style. The image is filled with motion, tension, and realism, something many mid-20th century stamps excelled at. The green tonal shading adds depth to the scene, and the contrast between the waves and the sky creates a visually dramatic composition. Stamps like this give us a window into the emotions and atmosphere of the time. They remind us how philately can preserve history in ways that feel both artistic and deeply personal. The stamp captures a moment frozen in time, a moment of courage, teamwork, and national duty. When evaluating its contemporary collector value, several factors must be considered. Condition plays a major role. A clean, well-centered stamp with strong color, sharp perforations, and minimal cancellation marks will always attract more interest. Mint condition examples of this issue often have a much higher appeal, especially those with original gum or exceptionally crisp printing. The stamp you provided appears to be in used condition, which is completely normal for this era, and many collectors enjoy used stamps because their cancellations tell a silent story of actual postal service. Even so, factors such as cancellation placement, color vibrancy, and perforation health still influence the final value. In today's collector market, this U.S. Coast Guard commemorative stamp usually falls into the modest value range, making it accessible to collectors at all levels. Typical used examples often range from $1 to $3, depending on how clean and visually appealing they appear. Higher-grade used examples with light cancellations or excellent centering may reach $4 or $5. Mint condition versions generally hold stronger value, often reaching around $6 to $10 for normal mint examples. Truly exceptional mint specimens with superb centering, bright original color, and pristine gum sometimes exceed $10, particularly among collectors who specialize in military-themed issues or mid-20th century commemoratives. Although it is not a rare stamp, it remains deeply meaningful, and that emotional connection helps maintain its steady value over time. Collectors worldwide admire this stamp because it represents more than postal history. It represents human courage. Many people who collect military or wartime issues consider this stamp essential because it honors a branch of service that is frequently overlooked despite its tremendous contributions. The U.S. Coast Guard has saved countless lives, protected coastlines, and served quietly but powerfully behind the scenes of American security. This stamp serves as a reminder of those countless missions carried out under harsh conditions and often without recognition. The landing craft powering through violent waters evokes the bravery of Coast Guard crews who faced storms, rescues, and wartime emergencies with unwavering resolve. For viewers of Stamps Old World UK, stamps like this inspire a deeper understanding of the stories behind every issue. Philately is more than collecting paper, it is collecting history, collecting courage, collecting reminders of human effort and national service. When you study a stamp like this one, you connect directly with the past. You understand that each engraving stroke and each design decision was meant to honor real people who lived through real events. This makes the U.S. Coast Guard stamp not only a collector's item, but a piece of emotional legacy preserved for future generations. This stamp also teaches new collectors an important lesson. Value is not only measured in dollars.
Even stamps that are not extremely rare carry powerful meaning. A collector who values military history or maritime design will treasure this issue more than many higher-priced stamps because it represents something deeply personal and inspiring. Often stamps with stories attached to them become favorites in albums even more than the stamps worth far more money. The Coast Guard commemorative stands proudly among those meaningful issues. In closing, the 3-cent U.S. Coast Guard stamp from 1945 is a beautiful tribute to bravery, service, and maritime history. Its scene of bold action and dedication, its rich green engraving, and its historical significance make it a cherished issue among collectors. In today's market, its value ranges from a couple of dollars in used condition to $10 or more in mint, depending on quality. But its true worth lies in the story it tells and the honor it pays to those who served from 1790 to 1945. Thank you for joining Stamps Old World UK as we explore this powerful and memorable stamp. And may your collection continue to grow with history, meaning, and inspiration.